Hello, everyone. Today we shall have a small discussion on this topic of features of fundamental rights. See, there are several features that are associated with fundamental rights. I will be discussing certain of them because it would make sense to discuss those features as far as this particular video is concerned, because certain other features, well, you will be able to understand it when certain other topics are dealt with, like, for instance, that of emergency or so on and so forth. Yes? Okay. The first, most of the fundamental rights are self-executory in nature, excepting a few, like Articles 17 or 21A. So it is very important to understand as to what self-executory in nature means. See, a self-executory as such means that an article, that is a fundamental right in the form of an article, when it has been put in the constitution, it becomes active from the day it has been given effect to. That is, from the day when the constitution has been given effect to. What do I mean by that? Let's just take a look at Article 14. See, Article 14 states that the state shall not deny to any person equality before the law or equal protection of the laws within the territory of India, which means this article is complete by its own. The moment the constitution was given effect to, this article has been in place and this right is granted to all persons. All right. Whereas, in contrast, if you look at Article 21A, it is not an article, the right is not guaranteed by that article alone. It is an enabling article, it is an enabling provision. Why? Because the state has to come out with a law. Only when the state comes out with a law will this particular article be given effect to. We just read the article. The state shall provide free and compulsory education to all children of the age of 6 to 14 years in such manner as the state may by law determine, which means a law has to be enacted. Now we know that we have the RTE Act, but then my point is that this article or this right is not self-executory in nature. There is a law which should supplement this particular article, and then this fundamental right gets granted to all the children. Yes. The second one, some fundamental rights are available only to citizens, while some others are available to all. This is, I think, self-explanatory in nature. Certain fundamental rights are available only to citizens, whereas certain others are available to all persons. Then how do we differentiate it? As and when when you read the articles, you'll see that certain articles use the term person and certain others use the term citizens. I've just given two examples, like the same Article 14, the state shall not deny to any person equality before the law. So any person, so immaterial of if he is a citizen or not, this fundamental right is granted. Whereas Article 16, Clause 1, there shall be equality of opportunity for all citizens, right? So it becomes very particular that this particular fundamental right becomes applicable only to citizens and not to the foreigners. The third feature, fundamental rights are not absolute but qualified. See, what does this mean? See, when these fundamental rights are given, they are not given in toto. Like, for instance, any citizen or any person is allowed to enjoy these rights, but under certain limits. There are a set of restrictions, there are a set of grounds on which these rights can be restricted by the state. And what these grounds are, they are already mentioned in the articles only. Like, when we go through the fundamental rights, you'll be able to see that these restrictions have been provided along with the rights that have been granted in the Constitution. So qualified in the sense it is restricted. It comes along with a set of restrictions. That is what that particular feature means. Fourth one, they are justiciable. Justiciable means, like, now a right has been granted to you, and if you are of the notion that this particular right of yours is getting encroached upon by the state, then you have the right to let us say, file a case or approach the Supreme Court directly. You need not go through the entire hierarchy of courts that we have in our country to get your grievance addressed. They are justiciable. This is a feature which allows any particular individual to directly approach the Supreme Court in order to get their grievances addressed, provided if they are of the opinion that their right has been encroached upon. In contrast, when we come to the chapter of DPSPs, you will see that directive principles are not justiciable, right? So that is what this particular feature means. The next one, all the rights are available against the arbitrary action of the state, whilst some are also available against the actions of private individuals. What does this particular article or this particular feature mean? See, when we say that we have a right, we say that we have fundamental rights, but against who do we have all of these rights? Mostly they are all against the state. That is, I have a right against the state. The state cannot deny something to me, right? Like for instance, Article 14, which we just read in the last slide or so, it says that the state cannot deny equality uh, before law or equal protection of law, which means I have a right. I have a right against the state, and the state cannot take any arbitrary action that violates that particular article. Now, most of the rights, like they are available against the action of the state, but certain others, they are also available against private individuals. Like for instance, Article 17, which abolishes untouchability, which clearly states that untouchability in any form is abolished, which means it's not just the state which is prevented from practicing untouchability, but any other private individual also. He or she cannot practice untouchability against another individual. So I hope you get this particular point, that certain rights, most of the rights, they are available against the arbitrary action of the state, while certain others, they are also available against certain private individuals. Okay, the next feature. Most rights are in the nature of negative obligations, barring a few. See, negative obligation means, see, when you go through the entire chapter of fundamental rights, you will see that in most of the articles, that are contained in part 3, we'll say that the state is prohibited from doing something. The state has been denied something. That, which means, in essence, there is a negative obligation on the state. The article, it prevents the state from doing certain things. When we say Article 14 that the state cannot deny equality, which means that is like a negative obligation on the state. The state is forced from not doing something, right? So that is the meaning of negative obligations. Certain others are positive ones, like wherein it instructs the state to do something. Like for instance, Article 21A, which we also read. It says that the state has to provide for free and compulsory education. So these are like two aspects that are there. In certain articles, you will find that the state is being denied to do something, and in certain others, you will see that the state is asked to do something. That is what this particular feature means. Rights can be suspended during the operation of national emergency under Article 352. See, there is a whole separate chapter that deals with the emergency powers of the president, wherein we'll see that the different kinds of emergency that are there that can be made applicable. But as far as this particular chapter is concerned, I'll restrict that explanation to one particular aspect only, that when the national emergency is in force under Article 352, these rights can be suspended. So it is not like as if we'll have the rights in toto at all the times. No. The state has been given that much of power to restrict or suspend certain rights when the national emergency is in force. So what does suspension mean? Does it also mean that all of the rights will be taken away from us? All of these can be saved for discussion in some other chapter, but in here you just have to know that these rights can also be suspended, and one of the situations wherein it can be suspended happens to be the during the imposition of national emergency. The next feature, the rights can be modified in their operation with respect to members of certain professional groups like armed forces, paramilitary forces, police forces, intelligence agencies. Now, this feature will also be dealt in detail when we discuss Article 33, but as far as this particular topic is concerned, the state has been given the right to restrict or modify the fundamental rights with respect to certain professional groups. And the legislature, that is the parliament, they have come out with certain legislations also, like you have the Army Act 1950, the Air Force Act 1950, Navy Act 1950, Police Forces also, Restriction of Rights Act. So many legislations have been brought in. So, and under these legislations, the state has modified the fundamental rights that are available to these people. You can say the justification that has been provided is that, see, these are something called as sovereign functions, and this modification of rights, it kind of instills a certain amount of discipline. Like people, all the officials who are under these particular professional groups, they cannot go on for indefinite strike, right? They cannot, I mean, certain kind of associations cannot be formed by them. They cannot directly interact with the media according to their own whims and fancies. These kind of possibilities are not allowed for such professional groups. So this is one of the particular feature of fundamental rights. There are certain other features also, but like I said, certain other topics have to be covered for you to understand those features in detail. So we'll be stopping this particular video at this moment, right? Thank you for your time.